All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Chief Jones, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The agenda has Miranda doing the roll call, but she's not here, so Chief Landcamer, would you mind doing the roll call for us?
Sure. Get up.
Do you want me to do it?
What's that?
I can do it. Do you want me to do it?
If you would, I guess.
All right, Board Member Hippie Smith,
Here.
Board Member Ryan Leahy.
Here.
Board Member Scott Dorman. Scott, are you present?
Is he muted?
He's muted.
You're muted, Scott.
You're muted, Scott. Can you speak? Unmute and speak.
I'm present.
Thank you. Thank you. Board Member Jeff Robbins.
Present.
Did I get you yet?
Yep.
Board Member Sandra Smith, present. Okay, so we're all present. I'll turn next to the approval of the agenda. Have all the board members had an opportunity to review the agenda?
Yeah.
Yes. Does anyone have any comments, concerns, questions, changes?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by board members, Hippie Smith to approve the agenda. May I have a second, please?
Second that.
Second by Jeff Robbins. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed- Sorry, Scott. All opposed, no. The motion carried. I'll turn now to public comment. Does anyone here, welcome everybody. Does anyone here have a comment?
I do. I'm Nola Greenwald, and, I was here last week. I would just like to have you guys revisit the idea about doing the tax with the police department. I know the concerns with what's happened in the police department, but I'm also concerned from a public standpoint of they're gonna ask for money this year, and then the next year we're gonna ask for money, and people, I'm just worried about them getting too upset with all these tax increases. So I just would like you guys to consider revisiting that. Maybe you could use Chief Jones, you know, as he transitions out, maybe he could help with some of that stuff.
So your suggestion is that we would do it this year with the police, with the town of Estes Park at the same
Yes.
time? Okay, thank
Yes.
you. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? All right, so we'll move to the next item. Have all of you had an opportunity, board members, to take a look at the meeting minutes from December 22nd, 2025? Does anyone have any comments, changes, concerns about the minutes?
No.
I'll entertain a motion then to approve the minutes from the board meeting of December 22nd, 2025.
I'll approve to approve, I will. I'd say we approve the minutes from December 22nd of 2025.
May I have a second, please?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. All opposed, no. The motion carried. Turn now to item 7 on the agenda, financial matters. We'll turn to you first, Board Member Leahy, to present the treasurer's report.
The treasurer's report for December 2025, as of December 31st of 25, the district finances remain stable and within parameters of the adopted 25 budget. There's no indicators of financial mismanagement at this time. Our monthly overview is total December revenue is approximately 72,000, which was under budget primarily due to timing and sales tax and property tax receipts. Total December expenses were $292,000, which was under budget roughly 116,000, largely due to deferred capital training and facility expenditures, and then also personnel. So cash and reserves, total cash on hand at the end of the year was approximately 1.93 million. Unrestricted fund balance was 1.3 million. The Tabor and other restricted funds remained properly maintained. All funds, transfers, and distributions during December were
Dispersed.
Oh, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Disbursements, you're right. All funds, transfers, and disbursements during December were routine, budget authorized, and reviewed. Based on this review, no corrective action is recommended at this time. I'll continue to monitor financial trends and report any material changes to the board promptly.
Thank you. Does any board member have any questions for our treasurer?
No.
All right, Ben, can you hear us?
I can indeed. Can you hear me okay?
I can, we all can. Would you mind giving us your report, please?
Of course, I just wanted to make a comment. If a board treasurer ever wants to come and work for James Vincent Group, please shoot me a text. That was fantastic. So thank you. So thank you for doing
Under
that.
your influence, Ben. All under your influence.
That was marvelous.
learned
I don't get the honor of sitting and listening to that very often. So that was nice to hear. So thank you. Can I share my screen for a second, or maybe if not, can you pull up the screen? Can I share it?
I'm gonna let you share if you can.
You can share.
Okay, let me see. I'm going to send a request.
There we go.
Okay, give me a minute. So it should be screen 2. Do you see the financials that says January through December of 2025 in front of you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so just wanted to kind of go over a little bit of what was just discussed there, but kind of give you an overview of how last fiscal year went. Kind of in trend with what we've been seeing throughout the year. So there shouldn't really be any surprises here as a board. I've been reporting to you every month for the past, I think, about 5-6 months. We have been seeing, like I said, a very similar trend month over month. So from a revenue perspective, we ended the year 322,000 under where we'd budgeted. Now, to that, I do want to add that we do have some year-end adjustments that we're going to have to make. For example, we ended up receiving our sales tax January 2nd, which really is December revenue. That was 123,000. I checked before we got on the phone call. 123,000 in sales tax and 39,000 in 1A. Both of those line items would get us a lot closer to budget in both our sales tax and our 1A revenue. So if I just scroll down here, is it moving for you guys as I move the screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So our sales tax throughout the year was 242,000. As I said, there's 123,000 that will be recorded into sales tax, which will bring us a lot closer to budget for the year. There is also a journal entry that was made really early on in the year by the prior accounting firm that as we go through audit, I think there may be some additional revenue as well in the sales tax once we kind of get an understanding of that journal entry. And then when I add the 39,000 to the 1A, you'll note that we will end up being actually over budget for last fiscal year. So those are 2 items. Again, they're not in this report because we didn't get them until the beginning of January. But as we finalize the books for audit, they will be moved into December because that was December revenue. So wanted to point that out on the tax revenue piece, so that's all good news. And then on the non-tax revenue, we were pretty close to budget, but we ended up the year 11,500 over for the year. Now get into expenses. I'll scroll back up because I think this shows it easier, and then I'll go to the detail. We ended the year 468,000 under budget on expenses. So to the board treasurer's point, that's why we have seen an increase in our cash because Although we were under budget on our revenues, we were more under, the variance was larger on our expenses. So we were 468,000 under on our expenses for the year. And this is kind of the piece that I was discussing is the same as what I've been telling you month over month. And also one of the reasons why we were able to, when we looked at the budget that we're going into for 26, look at some areas where I feel that we had kind of over budgeted slightly and where we were able to look at some of that historical data and lower some of those budgeted items because we just weren't spending the money. So personnel was 163,000. I'm going to go down to here. Well, rounded up 163,000 under budget. That's with our chief pay being slightly over budget due to some payouts. So most of the savings we were seeing were positional savings. Most of that was in our, if you can see my screen, salary and payroll expenses for grants and 1A. I'll get to that item here in a second, but that was the majority of the savings we were seeing actual to budget, again, was in those positional savings. Buildings and land, we were 87,000 under budget. As you can see here, the variance actual to budget was 86,776. What I wanted to point out is we've cleaned some of this up. So you'll notice here, general maintenance, we coded, or 15,000 was coded to general maintenance, but there was no budget. The line item below it was general maint, which did have a budget. And then I would say that most of these items, lighting, plumbing, furnace, sprinkler system, a lot of those items really should be going into just general maintenance. So this just kind of goes back to, I feel that we have historically had too many expense items, and moving forward into 26, we've cleaned that up, which I think will make it a lot easier for you as a board to see. But reporting for the year, we were under budget on that buildings and land. Moving down to vehicles and equipment, that line item we actually were over. We were 30,000 over in the vehicles and equipment line item. You'll see the major reason for that was this purchase here on support vehicle equipment. We spent 46,000. We had nothing budgeted. However, if I scroll back up, and hopefully I'm not making you guys seasick with all my scrolling here. If I scroll back up, our vehicles were over budget, as I pointed out, 30,000. But we also had capital outlay budgeted that was not spent. And therefore, that vehicles and equipment that I was just showing you, I'm assuming, even though I didn't do the 25 budget, I'm assuming that part of that purchase was really budgeted in the 114,000. So that's why, again, in totality, we were able to stay pretty significantly under budget for the year, even though some line items were trending over budget. As I've kind of said, most of our line items were trending under budget. We were over in managerial. You could probably guess why we were over in managerial. I will not allow the suspense to last too long, but legal was 85,000 over budget in our managerial line item. And that was the main driver for us to be over in that category. So I don't know if there's any questions. Oh, last comment I wanted to make. So if you scroll down, this is the report you get every month. We have, since we started, report to you the profit and loss for 1A. So showing the revenue coming in and showing the expenses going out. For 2026, we will continue to do that. However, I would like to add the actual budget column as well. So you can see what was spent, what was budgeted, and then the variance. So then I believe it will give you a little more information as to the performance of grants from 1A rather than just knowing the revenue and the expenses. So that's what we will be doing moving forward for 2026. And now I'll be quiet and would happily answer any questions you may have.
Does anyone have any questions for Ben? Ben, are we going to be creating a separate 1A fund for those funds?
Well, so I won't because I'm not a board member. And that's, you guys get the power of doing that. We have been tracking it since we started on the income statement, showing the money in and the money out. as I said, we will add a budget line item or budget column for that so you can see the variance between the two. The only other thing that we could potentially do, and this is really up to you guys as board members, is if I get back to the balance sheet. We could actually add a physical account if you really wanted it completely separated. And myself and the chief have kind of spoken about that. We think that given the level of interest from the board on making sure that we keep these funds separate as best as we can, we believe that would be the best way of doing it. But again, we are already tracking it from an income statement of what we get in and what we spend. The only other step that we could take is if we wanted to create our own account for it.
And
But
I understand what you just said, that you and the chief have spoken and believe that might be the best approach. Is that what I heard you
correct.
say?
Yes.
All right, so maybe we can add that as an item of new business to discuss at our next meeting, since it's not on our current agenda. What do you all think of that?
Sandy,
Yes, sir.
I think we're gonna kick off with Orion and Jeff and John and I. A major project here soon of relooking at the whole wildfire risk reduction program. And I think that's a major point of it. So I would suggest maybe letting that group look at this.
That's a great idea.
Rather than
Very,
jumping
very
to
good
the
idea.
Yeah, I know that was when we did the budget committee, we looked at that. We thought it was a good idea, but it'd be nice for look at it in this committee as well.
All right, so then I think we'll go ahead and assign that task to the subcommittee that's looking at the prevention groups organization. Okay.
Yes, also President Smith. Ben and I had also been talking about not only a special fund, but also looking at the whole 2026 budget. In the first half of this year, with the potential of a budget amendment in June, because we have several things. You're going to be talking about a reorganization tonight a little bit later, different positions, those kinds of things that could change, how we represent the budget. And as Ben pointed out, we had quite a bit of underspending this year, or not this year, but 2025.
Mhm.
We need to figure out what that was. We're gonna be looking at, I think, and I know you're gonna appoint a standing budget committee later. As part of that, work with Ben, that we may have quite a bit of budget looking at to do in 2026.
Right, well, it's good, we'll have a standing committee for that, well, assuming everybody agrees that we should have a standing committee. All right. Did you want to say something, Ben?
I was going to say, so just to add to the chief's point, I don't think we don't really have any additional revenue. And we're spending all our revenue, but I think from a transparency perspective, myself and the chief, if there were some items from an expense standpoint that were going to change significantly, we felt that from a transparency perspective, it'd be the right thing to bring it back to the board.
I agree, and I think that's something the budget committee is gonna need to look at and come to us when you're ready to discuss and then, okay. Anything else, any other questions for Ben? Board members?
Yeah,
Scott,
I have one. I have one.
But I was just gonna ask if you could hear us.
Yes, I've been following the Ben, you had mentioned that we needed to go to a different QuickBooks system. And we're going to do that first of the year. So have you done that? Is that what we're looking at now, or?
Yeah, so first of all, your weather looks fantastic. Second of all, although I'm in Arizona myself, so I suppose I know what sun looks like. We made a recommendation during, I think, one of the early budget committees that there were some reports that you as a board wanted to see, in particular month budget to actual variance and then year to date budget actual and variance. And that's not something you can do in QuickBooks Online. So the discussion was had that we could look at going to QuickBooks Desktop. The board My understanding is the board said, yes, let's do that. And we have done that. So these reports are still out of QuickBooks Online because we're still reporting for 2025. But the 2026 numbers and reporting will be coming out of desktop, which will allow us to do that report for you. I'll be reporting it in February for January numbers.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions for Ben? All right, I'll turn now to discussion action, approval of the December paid bills.
I've gone through the bills. Has anybody else had an opportunity to look at the bills paid and due?
I looked at it.
I would entertain a motion to approve them if there's no questions about them. No,
Anything you want to report on it?
nothing specific. Sorry.
That's it.
There were no extraordinary expenses in there.
No, there was a lot more in the end of the year, so our expenses were higher, but there was nothing that was out of the norm or exceptionally high.
And how are we with transitioning to making sure that we have current employees on all of these bills, as opposed to recipients being people that used to be here?
So we've moved over. Chief is now approving the bills each week and then sends them over to me. And then as they come through, if they have any former employees on the invoices or for their emails, we're working on transitioning those out. So hopefully in the next month or so, we shouldn't have any of those lingering.
Okay,
We're continuing to work on that. Ryan and I are keeping in contact on that.
okay,
Some of them have some extra, it's a little more it's not just cut and dry because it is a security thing. So we have to get somebody that's authorized to go in there. Miranda's been trying to keep up with it, but she can only knock out so many at a time. So.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
just move forward.
okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the December paid bills.
I'll make a motion to approve the December paid bills.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carried. All right, we'll turn now to the report of the restructuring subcommittee, which is comprised of me and Ryan, and then of course Chief Jones and interim division chief Thomas and division chief Landcamer. We have made some progress on looking at the overall structure of the organization. We've talked about this a little bit with the chief in previous meetings, but we're looking at essentially an organization where the fire chief is at the top. There is a management group of 2 employees, maybe 2.5. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to the management consultants report. We have identified all of the general areas of tasks performed or things that are worlds that are encompassed within the fire chief position, the management staff that will be reporting directly to the chief. There won't be a division chief of staff in our recommendation. We believe that the operations, there'll be 2 basic divisions with underneath the chief. It's what we're going to recommend. One is the operations division as it currently exists. The other would be something along the lines of a risk reduction division, which is currently the division that is headed by John Landcamer. Reporting to the operations division chief would be a training officer. So we don't believe we don't have any recommendation for changing anything with respect to the operations division in terms of how it is currently structured. On the risk reduction side, and just in terms of vacancies, we have the management consulting firm has recommended. I wish I could get up on that board and try to draw this for you. I'm trying to describe this, and it's a little hard for you probably to picture what I'm trying to say with words, but if anybody has questions, just tell me and I might just go over to the board. With respect to the management consulting firm, they've given us 3 basic recommendations that Each scenario has, in their view, three different administrative people that would report directly to the chief.
Chairman, or President, that's a separate board.
I
That's
know.
a separate item. You want to
I
jump
know.
right to that or?
No, I'm just giving them the overall structure. So as Chief pointed out, he's going to be going over the more specific details of that. But we believe that it's probably best to allow the chief to make the decision about how many employees and what their roles ought to be. Is there a manager? Is there not a manager? And so forth. That's uniquely within his purview, and he's in the best position really to determine what's going to be the best arrangement in terms of the number of people and what their positions are going to be. And again, you know, on the operations side, we have a vacancy in the training officer position, obviously. We're going to be discussing here shortly, the board asked us to come back with a revision to the Division Chief of Operations job description. So we will be looking at that here shortly as well in a separate, I'd like to show, in a separate, action item here, item of business. On the risk reduction side of things, we're looking at, asking the board tonight to make a couple of decisions. We have not settled on a recommendation yet for an organizational structure, but we do believe there are certain things that do need to be accomplished soon and that are already in the budget. One, for example, is having another fire prevention officer. That's already in the budget. There is an action item on this later as well. This would be someone who is doing something akin to what Stacy does. Stacy can't do all of the things. On the wildfire side, we're looking at what are two potential positions. One exists, the educator, and one is whether we need a position. We're discussing that. We can't say that for sure yet. But whether there's a position necessary for the management of large projects. We have 1A, we have a large grant coming in, we have a bunch of other grants, I think, looking down the road. There's probably a lot of big grant money things that we need to do, and that since the other thing we've decided is we really don't need a mitigation crew. We've decided that that's probably, we're gonna recommend that not be something that we continue with. We have only one person who remains, who was a member of that crew. We're thinking that person is best right now, and Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, to serve in a temporary position. Her name is Alicia. First of all, she's extremely valuable. We don't want to lose her, and we would like to see her in a temporary position supporting Logan as educator and Division Chief Landcamer until we can decide on what the organizational structure of the prevention or risk reduction organizational structure is going to be like. So that is a very high level overview. I don't know if you can see this, but you can see all the different things that these people will manage in these divisions. So we've gone through and done a deep dive into everything everybody does. What resources do they have or lack in terms of their ability to do those things, and then are trying to make our recommendations. We're not going to try to come to you with like an overall structure of every single, because I think that we just don't want to hold things up. So right now we want to get the board members to consider the administrative structure under the chief tonight, and then to agree that we're just going to move forward with the current structure of the operations division. And then to look at, to consider whether or not we can go ahead and approve the hiring of someone for the fire prevention officer position, which is in the budget, and the a recommendation to put Alicia in a temporary role right now to keep her here. Again, she's very valuable. It also enables her to do work for both Logan and for Division Chief Landcamer, and then to be considered if there's a position that opens up in connection with our restructuring of that side of the house. Any questions? Did I capture this okay? Division Chief Landcamer? Can I do that okay?
Where is Stacy in this?
Stacy's in green right here.
Okay,
So there'd be
Set
two
down
people.
there, right?
yeah,
In that world, there would be
that's
two
what I thought. I
people.
was just double checking.
So the FPO would be a person who does it.
So this is John,
This is John,
chief.
this is Dave, this is Chief Landcammer, this is Stacy. This is non-existent right now, but we're proposing that someone be brought on board to help Stacy, especially given all the changes that are occurring right now. This is Logan. And this is vacant, this doesn't exist right now, but this is what we're trying to talk about right now.
Okay, and we're trying potentially move Alicia into helping
Maybe
Logan. Like, right?
helping Logan right
Potentially.
now, yeah, later
Okay.
in one of the discussion items or discussion action items is moving Alicia, keeping Alicia. Because we really aren't recommending continuing with the mitigation crew, especially given the size of the grants that are coming forward. We can't do the work ourselves. But have the fact that we have a valuable employee that we would like to keep. Right now could serve a very useful role in providing assistance to both Division Chief Landcammer and to Logan Lasky. And then, should she desire to do so, and depending on what position is created or opens up, then she could apply for that position.
Okay, and we'll go through each one of those individually tonight, right? Just
Oh,
three
yeah,
changes, yeah.
we're gonna go through each of the things that we're requesting board to act on.
That's
I just wanted, I will distribute this to all of you. I looked this up so I could do my presentation, but I didn't,
Would you like to know? About that?
sure, it has my notes on it, but yeah, let me show you that. Color copies would be good because it's color coded. But only I know what the colors mean because I didn't write a little cue sheet for y'all. Okay, so that is the sort of report of the restructuring subcommittee. Does anyone have any questions about that, or do you want to wait to get? What's that?
Your watch.
My technology always goes crazy.
I think, I think, and I think you pointed it out correctly, and for everybody else that we're looking good on the admin side, we're gonna talk about that, and looking good on the operations side, we're talking about that. We're looking fairly good on the traditional fire prevention side of risk reduction. We're kind of still working on the wildfire side. And that's kind of where we are, and that may take a little bit more time as the subcommittee, digs into that a little bit more. And I'd like to, I'd really like to thank you and Ryan as well as Chris and John. This subcommittee is meeting pretty much every week for the last meeting. So for an hour and a half, 2 hours every time, and covering a lot of ground, so I'm really appreciative of that.
It's been a real educational experience, and I really appreciate, especially you, all of you, but getting to understand what Division Chief Landcammer does, getting to understand what Division Chief Thomas does. I mean, that's been a real helpful thing to me, being on board, just having a much deeper level of understanding of what everyone does and the scope of the effort that everybody's putting in. Okay, so any questions, board members? Scott?
I don't have any.
All right, so I will move on now to subdivision I of 8A. Discussion action rate organizational structure. So I'll turn now to Chief to talk about the action item number 1 under that, discussion action rate administrative services assessment and creation of job descriptions.
Okay, thank you. As President Smith pointed out, that a couple of months ago, already 3 months, almost 3 months ago, almost to the date, we did have some vacancies occur in our administrative services area. And you gave me very specific direction that we weren't going to fill any position in administration until we looked at. And we did do that. It took us a little bit longer than we would have liked, but we did contract with a firm called Colorado Resource Services, which is a special district consulting firm out of Denver. And they came in and they interviewed all of our folks. They interviewed Miranda and our 2 division chief, Sandy as well, me. We looked at our records and looked at our processes and compared us to other jurisdictions our size that provide similar services. And they came back with a report, and it's in your packet. Hope you had a chance to take a look at it. I think one of the things that's important is that they predicted that if we don't make some changes in our administrative services area, especially adding more resources, that we were gonna get into operational inefficiencies, burnout, further turnover, risk of non-compliance, board governance, strain, and leadership capacity erosion. And I think we're there on all those. I think we've all seen that over the last, especially in the last 60 days. This particular report looked at our system and they gave us some scenarios. They're recommending that they think we need 3 full-time equivalent employees in our administrative area. We've looked at that. I've looked at that. We can't afford that. They did look at our salaries that we have now, but they didn't include our total comp, which is cost of our benefits. And to do 3 positions would cost us, depending on the scenario, anywhere between probably $310,000 to $350,000. And we have 277 budgeted this year between the 2 positions, one that's vacant and Miranda's position. We've also got several other things going on. We're looking at some of our administrative services, some of the things that kind of migrated from our volunteer side to administrative over the last year or so. And I know talking to Chris and the volunteer captains, some of those things maybe jump maybe too quickly. Maybe some of those could go back to our volunteers. Another area that we're looking at is moving our PI, or public information officer, and our health relations and social media more into an auxiliary role. And we've got some folks, I think Diane's gonna talk about that later on. So, in my assessment, we're probably somewhere in between 2 and 3 FTEs. And what I'm proposing is that we have 2 full-time positions in administration. And then we support that with, some auxiliary folks, as well as some of other things that are going on in operations, and maybe a part-time position or 2. Going forward in the future, rather than 3 full-time. Jumping to 3 full-time administrative positions would be a big jump for us. I don't think we need to go up a little bit. So, if you approve this tonight, then I will get with staff, and which are mostly our 2 division chiefs and Miranda. And we'll look at what two positions. Should they be administrative assistant 1, 2, administrative specialist, executive assistant to the chief? I'm not really excited about administrative manager, because there's not a lot of management responsibilities, because you've already made the decision that we're not gonna have a supervisory administrative position, that both administrative positions I'll supervise directly. So if you give us the nod to move forward with that tonight, the next step will be to bring new job descriptions to you. It could be one of the ones that we've already got in our policies, because we've got several. For instance, we don't have an executive assistant to the chief, if we don't have an administrative specialist. We have administrative specialists in our pay plan, but we don't have a job description for them. So I'd like to move as quickly as we can to get that second position filled. Maybe also look at some part-time positions, maybe one, I think I'm one right now for some facilities type of work that John does right now, that we're moving to the chief's office, or to the administrative side of the organization. Certainly staying within budget of what we've got budgeted for administration now. We do feel like, and I think we're all feeling the strain of only having one administrative position. So I'd like to move forward that as soon as we can. I think there's a question of, do we wait to the next board meeting on the 23rd of February? Or do we ask you to do something earlier? Because certainly we have to go through that, filling of that process. And that takes time, and there's training that goes along with that, and rearranging some of the duties. The way I envision it now, with one of the positions being more board support and financial and HR, and the other one being more supportive of the operating divisions, operations and prevention. Kind of in those 2 buckets. We just haven't figured out what's in those buckets yet. But that's my ask, is that we allow us to move forward with that. And
So the only thing that it sounds like you are not sure about moving forward with is that there's no official job description for those positions.
for a couple of them. Like, for instance, we haven't
Only
made
2 you're proposing.
right 2, but within our policies, we have a job description of administrative assistant 1, administrative assistant 2,
Right.
office manager, chief of staff. we have something called administrative specialist in our pay plan, but not a job description. And we don't have anything in our pay plan or in our job description for executive assistant to the chief.
So you're pretty much going with like a modified version of scenario one, I assume, from looking at.
Kind of
this.
looks to me like.
So you would come back to us either next month or at a special meeting with basically the two job descriptions in your hiring process, and
Yep.
then we would just give you the okay to move forward.
Yep.
Okay, how fast do you think you could have that for a special meeting?
2 weeks, 10 days.
Okay.
Not next week, but probably the weekend.
Special meeting, we can obviously hold that by Zoom too, we can do a Zoom meeting, so I think that is probably a better course of action, just because I think the sooner we can get help from Miranda, the better. Any other questions for Chief on this? All right, so I think we need, I think we just instruct you to go and create the job descriptions. And bring them back to us with a request for, a special, we'll have a special meeting, and so we'll authorize you at that time that we'll approve the job descriptions, assuming that they've worked for everybody. You'll report to us also on the process, we'll approve the process, and then authorize you to go hire somebody. So for now, I don't think we really need to act, we just need to tell you to go do it. And then tell us when you want to have a special meeting. Does that make sense?
Do we want to schedule a special meeting tonight?
Sure.
Or-
Y'all look at your-
That?
The sooner we can get it scheduled, the better.
Okay, let's get it scheduled. Everybody look at their calendars.
Thank you.
Oh, I would say not next week, but the week after.
Oh, that's in Barnhouse.
Yes,
So you're talking about the week of January 26th?
we could do something the week of January 26th, I think we're ready.
That's next week,
That is next week. Hang on a second.
February 2nd.
So February 2nd? Is February 2nd? Is that what you're looking at? Is that week that?
February 2nd will be Monday, that'd be 2 weeks from tonight.
That's grand.
Yeah, because you said next week was not a week you wanted
Not
to do
next
it.
week, but
The week after starts February 2nd.
so Monday, the 26th is a possibility.
Oh, Monday, the 20th. So next week is okay with you. All right.
Monday, a week from today would be a push.
Okay.
Later in the week would probably be a little better, or we could go to 2 weeks would be. Just before.
Yeah, it might be a little, I'm gonna be out of the country
That's right.
until February 1st, so if we could do. I could get somebody else to lead it and just participate.
February 2nd would be fine.
February 2nd, we could do, what time of day? Does 10 a.m. on the 20th of February 2nd work for everybody?
I can't do 10 a.m. I can't do until afternoon.
Oh, not till afternoon, how about 2 p.m.? You could also do regular meeting time too. We could do regular meeting time too, is this not,
No, whatever,
I'm sorry.
whatever you guys
Would
decide,
later be
I'll
better?
figure it out.
Would later be better?
Nope,
No,
What time?
February 2nd at 2 o'clock is good with me.
okay, February 2nd at 2. Anybody have a problem with that other than potentially Hippie? Scott, can you hear us?
That should be
Yeah, I
pretty.
can hear you, and that would be fine, just not probably any earlier than that, because I'm 3 hours behind you.
Yeah, so let's do February 2nd at 2 p.m.
Could we do 3?
Does everybody have 3 o'clock that day?
The only reason I asked that, I have a medical procedure.
Oh,
You never know how.
you never know how that goes. Okay, so then do we have everybody thinking that the 3 o'clock on the 2nd is okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right,
Is this an in-person or just Zoom?
Zoom.
Okay.
Okay. Oops, did it go away? No, it's there. Okay. All right, 3 p.m. on the special meeting by Zoom. We'll have to get that noticed, so we should probably put on somebody's list of things to do. Post that notice and I'll do an agenda for it.
Groundhog Day.
It's on Groundhog Day.
If it's stuck in the meeting.
Perpetual meeting. All right, Let's then turn, any other questions for Chief or anyone on the subject of the administrative division side of things here? Okay, let's talk about the operations division. We'll turn now to the item number 2A, discussion, so that's 8A, small Roman numeral 1, 2A. For all of you keeping track. Discussion, action, rate, division chief of operations, job description.
Okay, this is a continuation of a discussion you had at your December meeting when we talked about extending me for the rest of this year and doing our chief process a little bit later in the year. And I think the gist of that discussion is that the longer an interim period goes for me, the more difficult it is to maintain an interim position, both for our operations and training chief, as well as the training officer position that follows that, which we're still keeping vacant right now. Until we figure out how we're moving forward. So my recommendation is that we move forward and fill that on a permanent basis. Using a process very similar to, or probably almost exactly the same as I just used in the police department for a commander position. And they have 2 commanders over there, very similar to what we have as 2 division chiefs, very similar public safety organizations. And they just went through a really successful process. We do have a new job description in here. There's 2 things in that job description. One is it does reflect the changes that the reorganization committee subcommittee is suggesting. Most of that is moving the equipment maintenance and vehicle maintenance and facility maintenance work from John mostly to Chris and his folks, except for facilities maintenance, which would come to me. That will then free up John to spend a lot more time and really focus on the wildfire risk reduction. And we're not here to talk about that tonight, but that's the kind of the gist of that change. So that job description does accomplish that. The job description also makes a significant change in that the job description now does not have minimum requirements. It has desired requirements, all the ones we've had there before, except for one, which I'll mention here in a minute. And the process that I'm suggesting is that instead of trying to make decisions based on minimum requirements, that we look at candidates' total package. What they're bringing to the table, experience, education, certification, training, those kinds of things. And what does that package look like? And how does the strength of that package look as compared to what the job functions are, rather than saying, oh, this is a minimum requirement, you don't meet this minimum requirement, you're just out. Also, I'm suggesting that we have this as a internal promotion rather than internal recruitment. The reason for that is I've looked at our organization, I've looked at the folks that are here. I have a pretty good idea of what's out there in the field. And my professional judgment and belief is that, yes, we could probably find somebody outside our department that has more experience and maybe has a longer list of other qualifications. Would they be any more successful in the job than somebody that's here? My feelings, probably not. That is not to say that that is the only view on the department. I've been contacted by a number of our volunteers that feel that we should look for people outside as well as inside. That we do an internal, external search to do that, as we, I think, probably did last time. Is that when Jason came on, and I think there's a couple reasons for that. I think some folks would like to see the opportunity to get more experience, both emergency response and other areas, as well as I talked to somebody tonight and they were interested in, maybe folks that are outside of our organization might have a greater knowledge of newer techniques and newer things in our fields. And those are both, I think those are both valid points. However, I think that, and I'm only an interim chief here, I'll only be with you probably a year. But I think it's important you have the discussion, and one of our other volunteers coined this phrase, Brandy, thank you, was, when we look at our our most valuable resources, which is our people, both volunteer and paid. Are we gonna build it or are we gonna buy it? You know, those are two different philosophies, and sometimes they don't go together real well. My recommendation is we do everything we can to build it. Internally, that we build the skills, we build that knowledge, we build the system knowledge. We have unique circumstances here in this organization with our traditional volunteer response system that we all hope to have as long as we can all possibly see into the future. That's a different animal than many of the folks that are out there that would probably be interested in this kind of position. Most of the folks that would be interested in the position come out of the data organization. So I think that's important. But my recommendation is we have an internal promotion on this. And if we end up with a candidate that fits internally, and if they have a weakness in some particular area, we do a professional development plan over some period of time that me or whoever follows me works with them to gain those knowledge and those skills and those abilities. But at the same time, I don't want to discard or downplay the perspectives of other people, which is based on a lot of times on experience. So I have two asks here. One is that you approve the job description so that we can move forward with that. And the other one is that, and this is in a separate, because we have to do quite a separate thing, but it'll come up in the next agenda item. And that is to waive the requirement in our policies right now that requires us to have an internal external process for any vacant position. So that's where we are with that. I think we're ready to move forward with it. We have a job description that I think is pretty solid. We've been working on it for all of us for a month. I think we're there with that. My recommendation is a internal promotional position. That we espouse the philosophy to build it. Versus that doesn't mean that, if it turns out we don't have an internal candidate that fits at the end of the process, that we don't go external. But I think we start on the build it side rather than the buy it side. So, that's my ask on this agenda item here is to approve the job description, and the next one will be to waive the requirement of the internal external.
Any questions for Chief on this subject?
The only thing I would like to say is that I agree with you. We do need to hire somebody. I don't know if now is the time, and the reason I say that is because, as you said, you're not gonna be here for a long time. So the person that's coming is going to have to work side by side with this person. And I know they're here just to do a job, but still, if they don't personally connect, that causes problems. Now, on the other side of that, I do like the fact that you want to make it just internal. Cause I feel like if we can find somebody internal, they're gonna work with our new chief no matter what. So I feel like that's a good place to start. And then if we can't find anybody internal, maybe we hold off until later to fill it. If we're gonna bring in someone external, because I think that personal, they need to be on the same wavelength together.
What do you think about that?
With that, I guess I'm, Nippy, are you suggesting that we don't go through this process now?
I think that you presenting it as only going internal, we should move forward. But when it comes to bringing in someone external, I think that should wait till later.
Okay, so if we are unable to find the match, a person internal, that we hold off.
That's the proposal on the table, yes. What does everybody else think about that?
I think that sounds good. Yeah, I think it sounds good, and I mean, I have to assume that since you want to go down this road, you've looked at, the talent that you have out there, and you you know, you're pretty sure that you've got the talent to do this.
I think so.
Yeah.
I do have to. I have been down this road before,
Yes,
as you
I'm
can
sure you
expect,
have.
both ways. And my observation in the fire service is very difficult to hire in Dubai.
Yeah.
And in the mid-level part of a fire service organization. I mean, it's common at fire chief level, but below the fire chief level is not. And because the internal culture is so strong in fire service organizations that pulling people into it is really, really tough. Sometimes you can luck out and it works out really well.
Mhm.
Most times not. So
Kevin,
I guess to piggyback off of what he said, looking at internal, you feel like there's more than one applicant so that we wouldn't just be looking at one person.
I think there's more than one.
Okay.
so I guess my only caveat to what you're proposing is that I would think, I'm assuming we're gonna find an internal candidate because you seem confident that we can find an internal candidate. But if for some reason we were unable to, I just would like to, as a board, revisit the issue again
Right.
and discuss what to do about that then,
Right.
instead of making a decision now that we're just never gonna go external.
Right.
So if you don't mind, I think I would prefer to approach it that way. Does anyone have any?
I actually think. Yeah, I think that, just, at this point in time, saying that we're not gonna go outside the organization until we get a permanent chief here is.
Because we still have the same issue, we still have this like the time issue, then what do we do? I really would like to revisit it if for some reason we cannot find a suitable internal candidate. That to me is an important thing to just keep open,
I agree with that 100%.
okay? All right, so then, has everybody had Scott, do you have any questions? I just want to be sure.
I'm in agreement with what Hippie was saying as far as having, trying to find somebody internal, and if we can't, then that's when we will discuss whether how we want to go external, whether it be regional or national or whatever we wanted to do. But I think there's probably a few candidates that I can think of internally that would probably fit this job description. I also noticed that this is actually two jobs now. It's not just division chief, but / training officer. So, and I'm assuming that that person would then also have a training lieutenant or something to assist with training, because that's a lot for one person to do.
We have two authorized positions, paid positions in operations right now. Division chief of operations and training, and then we have the training. And I think the title of training and volunteer coordinator. So those two positions in the operations division.
Yeah, we still have the same two positions, it's just that the division chief still has training under him.
Okay. And that's fine. So
So.
that's all the comments.
Okay,
And you're wanting to try to fill the division chief and then work on the training.
Exactly. Yeah, we
Okay.
need to fill that one first, and then whoever the division chief turns out to be, that now your task is now to finish fill.
well, that person should participate in the drafting of the job description for that position and everything too.
Yeah, I don't really
Or
anticipate,
advising if necessary.
much issues with the training officer position that, the further we get down,
Yeah,
and also I think it's important to recognize that within that division, we have 2 captains, we have 5 lieutenants, and about 39 or 42 volunteer firefighters, as well as 8 or 10 auxiliary folks. So we have, that's a big division over there, and I have already talked with them about, what's the proper number of volunteer officers? Do we need 3 captains or, whatever it is, but I think that's something for them to deal with down the road. The key thing is making the permanent appointment of the division chief.
all right, so then I guess I'll ask the board members, have you all had an opportunity to look at the division chief of operations job description? Yes.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions, comments, changes?
not for that, I do have one more question, just on
sorry.
the process. Could you expand on that a little bit, on what process the police used, or do you have that?
Yeah, I was part of that process. What I would suggest here is that, if we go down this route, then job search will go out and all of our personnel will have the opportunity to submit their package of their experience, their training, whatever it is. I and maybe a couple other people, I haven't figured quite that out yet, depends on who the applicants are. We'll look at that and say, okay, boy, these 2, 3, 4 have the strongest package. I mean, in these 2, 3, 4, whatever it was, aren't there, whatever it is. Then we'll invite the 2, 3, 4, whatever that group is, to a set of interviews. Probably 3 interview panels, administrative, leadership, and operations, with both internal and external interviewers, both from our organizations and from others, and from other parts, like for instance, certain police department, from dispatch, from Estes, our ambulance service, paramedic services, probably somebody from Loveland, I mean, a good mix of people. If we have 3 committees or 3 interview panels with 4 or 5 people apiece, that means we're gonna get 12 to 15 books. On those areas. And then those folks would then interview them with a set of questions that we all have when we've all done this. And then they would then give me a list and say, this looks like the best match, or these 2 people look like the best match. I will interview all of them that are interviewed by the interview panels. And then, then I'll make a decision from there. And like I said, if there's final candidate really isn't there on a specific point, then we'll work out a way to get them to that specific over some period of time.
Thank you.
I assume we'll have volunteers on these panels, we'll have staff members on these panels, so just want to make sure we're casting a broad enough net. Okay,
And you did say, I believe, any education that they'll need, if they don't currently have it, we can write up a plan for them
Exactly.
to go through. Okay.
Yep.
I like that.
Description, we changed them from skills they must have to, were not required, but, desired.
Okay.
okay, so any other questions for Chief before I move on to approving the job description? All right, have you all had an opportunity to take a look at the job description in your packets? And does anyone have any changes or questions about that? All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the Division Chief of Operations job description. What's wrong with me? Job description as presented in the board book.
I will move to accept the job description for the operations chief as it is in the board book.
Do we know what policy number it is in the 700 group, or it's going to be?
I don't know off the top of my head.
All right, so you'll just tell, it will
Yeah.
fit into
Yes.
the section 700 policy, policies in whatever number it needs to be. We don't need to necessarily reference it. All right, so I have a motion on the table to approve the job description, Division Chief of Operations job description, which will become part of the 700 policies. And may I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, no. The motion carried.
President Smith, anticipated a little bit longer board meeting tonight. We did some pizza and it's here. I'd like to take a break. Now or wait till you get done with this?
Let's do the next one.
Let's get through subsection A here, and then when we go to shift to a completely different area, we will maybe take that break at that point. All right, so we obviously have been discussing authorizing the chief to engage in the process he described to hire from internal sources or candidates, internally sourced candidates a new division chief of operations. As I understand it, policy 202, which you have in your packet, right now it requires that a process that is both internal and external be conducted. So we need to waive the policy requirement that requires him to conduct both an internal and external search. Is there another aspect of that policy that needs to be? So I need a motion. Oh, does anybody have anything they want to discuss about this issue? All right, so then I need a motion to authorize the chief to conduct a search of the type in the manner that he described. And that his search, we are waiving the current policy requirements in policy 202 that require him to engage in both an internal and external search in conducting that process. Could I have that motion?
I'll move that we waive the policy 202 portion that requires the chief to do both an internal and external search for an operations chief, and will allow him to do the internal.
May I have a second, please? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carried. All right, because we are having such a long board meeting today, we are, I would entertain a motion to reset. No, are we reset? We're just taking a break, recess, and then return to eat some food.
Do we want to finish 3 before we go?
Oh, yes, we do.
2?
Sorry, thank you. I really should have my glasses on at all times. Okay, so the next item that we want to do before I entertain that motion is, I think as I mentioned to you, I'll have my handy dandy little drawing. It is in the budget for another, fire prevention officer. This is on the traditional fire prevention side of the house, of the department. One thing that I have learned, I think God and I have learned a lot, is that I think probably Stacy is overwhelmed. She must be, I think she's in the meeting, she can add to that herself if she likes. But we do need to have somebody else on that side, at the prevention side of things. It is in the budget, and so I think Chief is going to maybe elaborate on why he would like to hire somebody for this position.
Yeah, as many of you know, I have a pretty long and solid background in fire prevention myself. And the amount of work that we're trying to do with one person, pretty astounding. And I believe, John, we have had 2 positions as a general fire prevention.
Yes.
And we're not talking about the wildfire risk reduction piece here. We're really just talking visual. I think John is in a lot better position to talk about what maybe some of those tasks are and what some of those time requirements.
Yeah, as we've talked about it, we really would be looking at bringing somebody in the same level we brought Stacy in as an inspector to help with business inspections, to help with food trucks, events, all of those things that tie up a lot of time as an inspector. When I took over in my role, I did have 2 inspectors. We made the decision to split that, half wildland, half fire code, because before we knew we had 1A. So now with 1A, I think that changes that conversation. And I really see the need to go back to that second inspector position. We're behind where we should be with business inspections, hotel inspections, restaurant inspections, short-term rental inspections. About 1,000 short-term rentals. The town issues about 1,000 business licenses every year. There's just no physical way for one person to get around as frequently as we would like. To do those inspections and help people run their businesses and run their homes or their short-term rentals in a safe fashion. So that's really is turning the focus back to.
And this is also where investigations resides. This is all the inspections, investigations, all of those things reside in this.
The Wildfire Resiliency Code is coming. That's another
Yeah.
reason to start looking at that capacity. We will be required to do landscaping inspections as part of that.
Which you haven't had to do today.
We haven't had to do today. That's new construction or major remodels. So it adds capacity. We're looking at ways to do that efficiently because we require fire sprinklers. We already sent somebody out there, so we're hoping to make it as efficient as we can, but that does add time. It adds reporting requirements, it adds invoicing, it adds all those things that go along with doing inspections.
How often do you?
Speak up.
Your inspections, you said not as much as we want to be, so how often do you want to inspect? Like the restaurants and the ones that get reoccurring, cause the sprinklers in a house, you're gonna go to once.
Right.
But it's more like restaurants and food trucks and stuff like that you're talking about.
Hotels,
Yeah,
any
okay.
of the businesses, anything you think of as business.
How often?
Ideally, and I think code would tell us we should be inspecting them annually. There's really no way with the staff we have to do that. We would like to get in there every couple of years and keep working towards that, but we know realistically, we can't bring in 3 or 4 inspectors right now to get every business done and
Yeah, I can elaborate on that a little bit more. Most places have an inspection system of existing facilities and buildings on a risk-based basis. For instance, general mom and pop businesses with 2 or 3 employees. Once a year, maybe every 2 years, X, whatever it is that John thinks. But we also have some higher risk ones. Public assemblies, especially public assemblies with alcohol.
Yeah.
Tend to be a problem. We just saw something like that in the news here not too long ago. Anything that has to do with any kind of hazardous materials or flammable liquids, those kinds of things, require a more frequent inspection. I think one of the things that's been impressed upon me and John just mentioned is that we have 1,400 non-owner, what do we call those? Short-term rental.
short-term rental,
Short-term rental.
just under 1,000.
But most of them are right here. We have most of them here in Estes Valley, and it's a bigger issue for us. Not only that, we have people that, come from other countries that have different customs and, have a little more. I think the other thing that, and John did mention this, is not only do we have the investigation function, but that's the function that also responds to. People call and say, hey, so-and-so is doing X, or whatever it is. That's a process. There's an appeal process that goes along with everything with the fire code. That's an administrative process. Maintenance of the codes is a big deal. And has to be supported by administrative policies that John has to have in his shop. So it is something that is important, probably something that, especially in the economy that we have here, and we're so reliant on business, not having fires in businesses. We don't want that to happen, especially with the concentration in our downtown area, which is a relatively high risk area. We want buildings close together. So I think it's something there. And I think one thing, if you decide to allow us to fill that second position, I think I'd like to see John have the flexibility to decide, is it equal to Stacy's position, or is it below Stacy's position, or what is, I think that needs a little work of whether it's a subordinate position, because Stacy's a captain, correct?
Correct.
And in the fire prevention area, and whether it's an inspector or a technician or whatever it is, I needs to work on that.
Yeah, and I'd just like to comment on that. It kind of goes back to your conversation about, are we gonna build it or buy it? Preliminary conversations, we talked about building it. So it would start at that lower level and then bring somebody up, educate them, have them pass their certification test. We understand we're not gonna go buy somebody with the inspector 1 or 2, probably right on in our community. So again, my feeling would be to build it like we did with Stacy, and start somebody in that has the desire, has the communication skills, all those things we need to keep building those relationships with our community.
So you're wanting to do an intern? Sorry, I'm quiet. So you're wanting to do an intern?
We'll have to bring you back what I would ask. Is that if I think we should do this, if you can authorize John and I to move forward, then we'll bring you back a job description. And I have probably again the same issue with waiving the internal external.
Okay, so why don't we do that? Why don't we, any other questions though for Division Chief Landcamer or for Chief Jones?
Yeah, and I guess with that, could you also bring us, if it's going to be an equal or a
Yeah.
let?
Yeah. Yeah.
You think you can figure that out before you hire?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I think I
okay,
already have, so.
okay.
So I think if you give us that direction tonight, we can come back into a regular board meeting in February. I think with the job description and how we go about doing it.
Or do you think you need it sooner so we could add it to
Or
our
special,
special meeting?
Job description's almost done, so it's really up to you, chief. I don't want to dilute the process by adding too many processes.
Yeah.
I
I
think
would,
we have a little more time than
Yeah.
some of these other decisions, so. I don't want to be running concurrent
okay.
2 or 3 processes at the same time.
So why don't we just have entertain a motion to authorize them to, Chief Jones and Division Chief Landcamer to move forward in the process of, developing a job description and process for hiring a, fire prevention officer.
They need our.
Actually,
I
I don't think so. I think we can just instruct you to do it, so.
Yeah, I do have
Forth
one
and
more
do it.
question though.
Well,
In regards to the position, I know in the operations, when you hire somebody in operations, their skill set on the operations side of things are weighed into the process. As you write this description, will you put weight into, especially looking internally, will there be weight put into their qualifications as operations side of things, as volunteers?
well, I think by definition, if we look internal, they're gonna by definition be an internal person that's got operational capabilities. I don't know, we'll have to think about that. That's a little more complicated.
Perfect, yep. Just wanted to make sure it's sort of part of the thought process when we develop.
It has been already, yeah, we've already, it's been part of my thought process.
Appreciate it.
any other questions? All right, so, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, board members, but I believe we unanimously are authorizing you to go forth and create the job description process for, hiring a new fire prevention officer. Another, yeah.
President Smith, it might be helpful to maybe have a vote because we have that issue. We have another policy that says that we propose something at one meeting and you can't take action on it until the next meeting. And if you're comfortable as a board with this, just kind of head nodding, giving direction that you actually want to vote on it, so there's no question later on.
We can go ahead and do it. I don't see any reason why we can't vote on it. So can I just have a motion? I'm gonna go back and do the same thing, with respect to the administrative services issue. But let's keep with where we are right now. Can I have a motion, please, to authorize Division Chief Landcamer and Chief Jones to begin the process of developing a process for hiring a fire prevention officer and creating that job description, or editing the job description, depending on how far along it is.
I will make that motion.
All right. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. All right, I'm going to revisit a couple of things. One is, when I presented the organizational structure, I informed all of you about the recommendation of the subcommittee to create a temporary position to accommodate keeping one of our fire mitigation crew members aboard while we are engaging in this restructuring. And that position would be a position in support of Logan Lasky and our Division Chief Landcamer. And I think it is better if we have a motion on that as well to authorize.
Can we have a minute of discussion on that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So let's open it up to discussion on that, and then depending on how that goes, we can decide whether to have a motion.
My thought on that is, it's my understanding that as we move forward and we create the positions, then she can apply for the positions. It's not grandfathering her into new positions.
Right.
To transfer.
Right, that was my understanding as
We're
well.
not developing her currently with education or something that we're allowing, if she wants to get that education on her own time, but then she can compete with the other internal. But it
Unequal
keeps her
footing.
internal, so she would go for that internal search
Correct.
when the search is internal.
So everybody will be competing on equal footing for whatever position, if there is a position that we, once we decide on that whole issue in terms of the risk reduction.
She's not really taking a position. She's just being an assistant to Logan.
It's
For the
essentially.
time being,
because
until the
Logan-
position is made, and then you will be able to, okay.
Yeah, to Logan and to Division Chief Landcamber, so supporting
Yeah.
both.
There was
So
some,
I've already got some good ideas, but again, this came up Thursday and I'll not had a chance to talk to all the players involved yet. To get it on paper, but
and then,
it really is just changing job duties in the interim. While we decide on this.
Yeah.
Having
the
a
other
system.
discussion that we'd had is that she is a 1A employee, so she's paid out of the 1A funds. And we were talking about going to a 0.8 maybe. So she's paid from the district, and so potentially she could help out ops. Is that still a thought process, or have you decided?
You know,
one way or the
I
other?
think maybe that's a little more complicated than we need to be right now.
Okay.
I think when we look at the bigger picture with you two and me, I think that comes up, but I think right now, if we can keep it simple as possible,
Okay, but so she is a 1A.
she's the
employee.
one
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, so, any other discussion or questions? All right, so may I have a motion, please, to authorize, Chief Jones and Division Chief Landcammer to, create a temporary position to be filled by Alicia's last name is
Paddock.
Alicia Paddock. While the restructuring subcommittee does its work, in that position would be a temporary position in support of Division Chief Landcammer and our educator Logan Lastly. So and that, I think that's it. And they will return to us with a job description and process. There's no process really, but with a job description, I guess you're gonna have a job description that we'll need to put into the.
Can I ask a question on that? Do you need a whole new job description? And can I just assign her tasks within the wildfire realm?
You know, I think because it's a temporary position, it's probably fine to just assign her tasks within the realm. What do you got? What do you all? Yeah, so it's not, I don't want to burden you with more work. There's really no need for that. So just
Thank you.
authorizing you to,
That'll
Do
simplify
that.
the
All right.
process, yeah.
did
Thank
you all track with that motion?
Yeah, I move that we do that.
Okay.
Hope you're taking good notes.
Wait, okay, I have a motion on the table to authorize the Chief Jones and Division Chief Landcammer to create a temporary position to be filled by Alicia Paddock in support of our wildland fire educator and Division Chief Landcammer. May I have a second to that motion, please?
I'll second.
I'm just writing down all your names so that when I do the minutes, that I'm not lost. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no. The motion carried. All right, now, last one, administrative, we talked about, we've already instructed, Chief to take a look at the consultant report and determine what it is that, he thinks the structure of the administrative, the administrative personnel who report to him, what that's gonna look like, what the positions are going to be. He's going to be returning to us with job descriptions and a process for filling those positions. I think it's best if we just have a motion, and motion to authorize Chief Jones to, review the management consultant report to create the positions he believes are necessary for administration in support of his, the chief's operations, and to create a process by which those positions will be filled. Could I have that motion
A motion.
for that? Yeah, a second, please.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Okay, so now, if you all are hungry, I will entertain a motion to recess for a moment or two or three.
I'll make a motion to recess for a few minutes while we grab something and then come back.
May I have a second for the motion to recess,
I'll second
please?
that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We'll see you in a minute.
Sorry, Scott, you're missing out.
No pizza for you,
Oh.
Scott.
It's all right, I already had Chinese.
It's only too far.
And he's in Hawaii, so.
He's in Hawaii.
Here's this.
I'm calling the meeting back into order. Okay, where we left off was item 8B, discussion action regarding the revision of bylaws and discontinuation of the board policy manual. I will tell you, let me just kind of summarize here. Our attorney, who's now on a separate Zoom, has given us a substantial revision, which I have reviewed, which Chief has reviewed, of the bylaws. The reason why that was undertaken is because while the bylaws were consistent with the law at the time they were drafted, that there have been numerous revisions to the law that really required a substantial update of our district's bylaws. And I think what may have happened over time is that because the bylaws may have had undergone a couple of revisions at some point, the board policy manual may or may not have been updated at the same time. So there were inconsistencies between the two documents. So we had a board policy manual that said one thing, we had bylaws that said something else. And so after, some discussion about this, we decided to basically incorporate all aspects of the board policy manual that weren't already in the revised draft of the bylaws, make sure that they're all in the bylaws, with one exception, and that's the code of conduct, which we believe we're gonna just create separately. We're gonna have a whole separate code of conduct just because it's lengthy and it didn't really fit in the context of bylaws. But that is not something that is here for your review now. We're just, that's something that we'll bring to the board, after I work with Ashley on it, and then next, Ashley incorporated Jeff into the subcommittee on the policy review. So with that kind of introduction, I'll turn to, this item on the revision of the bylaws on the annulment of the board policy manual. Have you all had an opportunity to review the relevant materials in your board books? I included the old bylaws, the draft new bylaws, and what is going to be a discontinued policy manual. If we all approve that.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions about any of it? No. Any questions about these documents at all?
I've reviewed it and I have no questions.
I've reviewed it and, frankly, there were some things in there, not being an attorney, that I didn't, really understand. It's important. The question I had though, is going back to what you said that they had the bylaws and there was the policy manual. So it sounds like what, one of the things you did is you combined them. Now, did you pretty much use all of the items that were in both, or did you eliminate stuff or change stuff, or
Everything's updated to be current with current law.
with current law?
Mhm.
That part I got. Was there any other stuff that was in there that you either eliminated or added that did not, qualify as an additional patient to so that it could?
Ashley, do you want to take that question?
I could hear it.
He
Can you
just-
repeat it?
He wants to know what matters of substance we added or deleted when we did the bylaws. I mean, there's quite a lot because there's just been so much statutory change. I mean, obviously, like all of the Open Meeting Act statutory stuff is now in
Yeah,
there.
that's that I get. I get, and I don't have an issue with that. I just, if I spent probably 37 hours going through this and, comparing them, I'd probably be able to figure it out. So my only question, Ashley, can you hear me?
I think so, yeah.
So my question is, are there any additions or deletions in this document that were done that, were not to conform to, new, new laws?
So everything that was done, I mean, we made a ton of substantive changes. The substantive changes were to conform with the law. There were some other procedural type parts that we changed so that it was just more efficient, works with other districts we work with. We made additions that weren't in there before that, we thought were important. That would go with, I guess, legal requirements. I mean, it's a lengthy document, Jeff, so, I'm happy to discuss it with you, but there are a number of revisions to it.
I can tell you a couple of things that I know are different or added. So for example, there's no reference. The board policy manual said basically that and I can't remember which was which. There was a discrepancy between the policy manual and the old bylaws as to whether or not the secretary of the board had to be a member of the board or could be somebody that is not a member of the board. And one said yes, and one said no. And so obviously that conflict had to be resolved. And so the way it was resolved is that now under the new bylaws, the secretary of the board has to be a member of the board. But we also created a position of recording secretary. The recording secretary is the person who will draft the minutes and make sure things are posted on the website when they need to be and do the administrative and ministerial work of the board, so that a board member doesn't have to engage that many hours of time doing those things. So now the recording secretary position is a new thing in the context of these bylaws as opposed to the old ones. The other thing is that there was no reference, there was no there were no standing committees in the old bylaws. And it's really a best governance practices to have standing governance committees. And so from my
Standing
perspective,
governance committees.
standing committees of the board.
Like the budget committee.
Budget committee and an audit committee. Those are typical standing committees of boards of directors. It makes, it actually is the best practices to have those standing committees. So they're permanent committees. Now, that doesn't mean we appoint someone and they're permanent members of the committee, but we have these permanent committees. And then the president, they're populated by the treasurer, both of those committees, and then one other person that is appointed by the president. And so the board doesn't have to constantly act to do anything on that.
Okay.
So it's prescribed how that's gonna be. So those are some things, there was obviously a lot of substantial revisions that needed to be done to various sections. One of them had to do with indemnification of directors, officers, and employees of the district. Those provisions can get extremely long, and so instead of incorporating them all into the document of the bylaws itself, we have the bylaws refer to the resolution, and we're going to be considering the resolution tonight instead of having all of that be in the bylaws. To try to streamline it just a little bit, but we still have all of the policies and requisite legal matters covered.
Right, I got
But
it.
I can't tell you that I've just identified everything that's new.
Sure. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that. I just wanted to make sure there was nothing that was in there that wasn't driven by, like a legal requirement or reasonableness, like the indemnification thing, like I read through that and I was like, oh, we didn't have that book there.
Well, we had something, but we just didn't have anything that had as fulsome as really is required at this time. I mean, obviously since 2014 or whenever, and I think there's been some minor revisions to it since then, but since that time, obviously there's been a lot of legal changes. And so obviously we needed to contemplate all of those things, but I also made changes to things like the order of business, just to be consistent with what our current practice is. There was a lot of stuff on Robert's Rules of Order that is sort of streamlined a little bit, and now we have a, much sort of easier to follow practice to follow, which isn't really governed. I mean, we don't have to follow Robert's Rules of Order. I mean, it's very traditional. And we often don't, otherwise I'd be talking to you sounding like a little like Shakespeare when I will recognize so-and-so right now, and then I'd have to tell you to stop, and then I'd have to recognize someone else. And we're a little bit more informal than some of that. It's still in there, but it's basically more optional. What else, Ashley, and like captured?
I mean, we added the construction contracts that's required by law. I think we added, there was a bunch of clarification we made, with different types of meetings. So I think I can't recall the number of pages it was before. But it's almost 20 pages now, so I think we really clarified everything and made it up to date.
All right, good. Yeah, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Didn't hear that part, sorry.
He's good with that, thank you. Anybody else have any questions about the bylaws? Right, so let's do this separately. We'll have a motion to approve the revision to the bylaws as presented in your board books.
I'll motion to approve the item as presented in the board books.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Scott, we can't hear you. Did you vote?
Yes, I did. I said aye. Voted in
All-
favor.
Thank you. All opposed, no? Motion carried. May I then also have a motion to annul the former board policy manual with the caveat that there will be developed a code of conduct for board members that is going to be spearheaded by the subcommittee on the policy review. Okay, so then, may I have a second, please?
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, no? The motion carried. Okay, so as I pointed out in answering your question, Jeff, one of the things that is new is that now the secretary of the board does need to be a board member, but that person does not have to carry the laboring war of drafting the minutes all the time and doing all of that work. I, as the president, draft the agenda. That's something I always do anyway. It's something I've always done on boards that I'm on, because that is the only way for me to help lead us to understanding what it is we're even going to be doing in any given board meeting. But that's not a secretarial role. So the secretary is someone consistent with the bylaws who is going to ensure that the board materials are maintained adequately, works with the recording secretary, calls roll call at board meetings, things like that. We need to talk about nominating and electing a board secretary. And I would like to nominate Jeff, because he volunteered the last time.
I'll second that nomination. Second.
We have 3 nominations of Jeff.
Scott, you got anything on that?
How do you feel about those,
I
Scott?
think Jeff would be great at it.
I think so too. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I read through the job description as it were. Yeah, I can do that. I will do that.
Thank you. All right, may I have a motion to elect Jeff Robbins as board secretary's place.
I'll motion to elect Jeff as the board secretary.
May I have a second, please? All in favor,
Do I vote?
just abstain. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carried, abstention by the nominee. Okay, so now also, as I mentioned, we need to create two, inconsistent with our newly adopted bylaws, we need to create two standing committees, permanent standing committees of the board. One of them is a budget committee that is always to be, the treasurer is always going to be a member of this committee. The second member of that committee is to be appointed by the president of the board at the time that the appointment is made. May I have a motion, please, to create a standing budget committee of the board?
I'll move to create a standing budget committee on the board.
May I have a second, please?
Second that.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carried. All right, the next one is the same motion, but this time with respect to a standing audit committee, a permanent standing audit committee of the board. May I have a motion to create that committee?
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, turning to item B, small room number 4. This is an discussion action regarding resolution number 2062-02 regarding the indemnification of directors, officers, and employees of the district. Have you all had an opportunity to review that resolution?
Yes.
Any
Yes.
comments, questions, concerns about that resolution?
I actually, there's one clause in here that I don't understand, and I think I misinterpreted it. Give me a minute, I'll read it.
Okay.
However, and this is, part B, paragraph 1. However, the district shall not pay such judgment or settlement and shall seek reimbursement from the employee for the actual costs of his defense, including actual attorney's fees, where it is determined by a court of competent jurisdiction, that the injuries did not arise out of an act or omission of the employee occurring during his term of employment with the district and within the scope of employment and as defined herein or by the court, or B, that unless otherwise expressly authorized by the board of directors of the district, the employee's act or omission was willful and wanton. So the part B is the thing that I have a question about.
B1.
So that B being that unless otherwise expressly authorized by the board of directors of the district, the employee's act or omission was willful and wanton. I just, what I hear that saying is that the board has the authority to say that that act was willful or wanted, when it should be a court that says that, not the board.
Ashley?
Do you understand that?
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to repeat the last part, because I hear,
Yeah, let me try to repeat it using the microphone because it might help just a little bit. And I don't disagree. It might be statutory, you can tell us. But in the resolution, it's under capital B, section capital B, applicability of the act, subsection 1. And it's small letter B at the very end of that paragraph. But basically that the district is going to indemnify a person unless a it falls outside the scope of their duty. They committed the act while not acting within the scope of their duty, et cetera, et cetera. But B, which is the expression of concern here, is that unless otherwise expressly authorized by the board of directors of the district, the employee's act or omission was willful and wanton. And Jeff has expressed the concern that it would be in the discretion of the board of directors to determine whether or not the conduct at issue was willful or wanton, as opposed to that being determined by a court.
So typically, in my experience at least, the board will agree to indemnify up until there is a ruling that someone was acting willful and wanton. But even if someone is found acting willful and wanton, which means they're acting outside of the course and scope of their employment, the board can always determine to indemnify anyway. I think that the board has to have some level of discretion there, because there are so many circumstances that could arise that you just don't know or can't anticipate. That you should have some flexibility in making that decision.
Okay, so but this section though, it relates to how the district shall not pay a judgment or settlement and shall seek reimbursement from the employee for the actual costs of his defense, where it is determined by a court of competent jurisdiction. Then two things: A, that the injuries did not arise out of an act or omission of the employee during the term of his employment, et cetera, et cetera. Or B, that unless otherwise expressly authorized by the board of directors of the district, the employee's act or omission was willful and wanton. So what you're saying is that even if a court determines because the court has to judge, because that's what prefaces both A and B. So it's already, it's going to be a court determination. But what this is saying is that we as a board of directors, even with that determination, could in our discretion decide to go ahead and indemnify.
See, I thought it said the opposite of that. So, and that's where maybe I read it wrong.
Right, so if you just ignore A, so read it like this. The district shall not pay such judgment or settlement and shall seek reimbursement from the employee for these things, for the actual costs of his defense, where it is determined by a court of competent jurisdiction that, unless otherwise expressly authorized by the board, the employee's act or omission was willful and wanton. So you just read it skipping A and it makes it a little more clear.
All right, I'm good with that.
Did you follow that?
It's rare, it's very rare that a court finds an employee or anyone, any agent of the district that has acted willful and wantonly and a board decides to indemnify. But there are circumstances where that might happen. And so I think the board should always have the discretion under the circumstances to decide to indemnify it if it finds it appropriate.
Okay.
So it's not the board deciding whether the employee's conduct was willful or wanton. It's whether the board decides to indemnify, even if a court has found
Right.
the employee to have acted in that fashion. But we think there is some extraordinary reason why the board thinks there's some extraordinary to continue to pay. Right.
Okay, I didn't get that, so I didn't.
And I think employees too, I've done many Trinity hearings, which is the hearing under the Colorado Governmental Immunity Act, where a court decides whether or not there's immunity or whether it's been waived. And I think a lot of employees who are essentially accused of acting willfully and wantonly outside of the course and scope of their employment would be super hesitant to be employed with a governmental entity if they believed that there was a chance, they go to court, even thinking they never acted willfully and wantonly, and the court finds there's willful and wanton conduct regardless. So, I think this really reassures employees as well that the board's gonna give them a fair shake and it's not just the judge, and the judge's determination.
Any other questions about this resolution? All right. May I have a motion, please, to adopt resolution number 2026-02, resolution regarding the indemnification of directors, officers, and employees of the district.
I move to approve resolution number 2026-02 regarding the indemnification of directors, officers, employees of the district.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. All right, the next item is 8C, discussion action rate town plan review waiver. And I believe Division Chief Landhammer is the one presenting on this.
And we can make this quick. Did receive a request for a fee waiver from the project manager for the town of Estes Park. He's in the Public Works Division. They're doing an addition on the museum. Mainly for storage. So it is, when they're doing a location and extent review, it's okay for them to ask for a fee waiver since it's a government entity that we work with. In looking at it, the $500 fee or part of the fee, and there should be the fee schedule there. That's the pass-through money that for the plan review and the inspections that goes to Joe Jaramello as our third-party contractor. The other part of that, the $333 is the impact fees, which is at our discretion. My recommendation, of course, you can accept my recommendation or make another motion, was to approve the fee waiver for the impact fees. So not have them pay the $333, still pay the $500, because if we waive that, then we're paying that out of general fund, basically, to pay our contractor. We can't ask our contractor to take a fee waiver for us, in my opinion.
So any questions about this issue?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it all town permits that you waive, or what that they ask for, or what signifies, makes it significant enough to warrant that fee waiver?
They know we have a policy on it. If you read through the policy, typically we'll try to match other fee waivers if the town's doing it. Gets a little bit squishier when it's the town's project itself. But traditionally we have granted that fee waiver request. But typically not go any more than anybody else would, than the town will be doing fee waiver requests as well. They also, I'm sure, with the Safe Built and said, can we get a fee waiver to do plan review, to inspections from the town building department side? I don't know the results of that.
So I guess let me make sure I understand that. If the town waives the fees for the permitting, whether it's them or another one, then we just usually follow their lead and go ahead and waive it as well.
Yeah, typically, it's not a full waiver, but 50%. So this is a little less than 50%, but again, we have a third-party contractor.
But we don't do it typically for all town project or town, or we do.
Town of Estes Park projects, they will ask every time, which that they're doing their due diligence as well. To save taxpayer dollars. It doesn't come up all that often, but they don't do that many construction projects, but it does come. I did reach out to the Derek Pastor, who's the one who requested this fee waiver. He was not available to come to the meeting tonight. Being it's a fairly minor fee, I told him we'd still try to get it accomplished.
I think I like the fact that they need to pay the money for a third party. But I think, yeah, we should probably go with that. It's, we're trying to work with the town on a lot of things.
I 100%
Um,
agree.
It shows goodwill,
I think that's true.
so.
Any other questions, comments, concerns about this? I say, you want us then, John, to refer specifically to your memo? Well, we'll refer specifically to the Estes Park fee waiver request relative to the museum addition project, okay?
I'd be specific in the amount.
Okay. Okay, so, I'll entertain a motion to approve the fee waiver request from the town of Estes Park project manager for the museum addition project in the amount of $333.
I will make that motion. We waive $333.
May I have a second, please?
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, no. The motion carries. All right, so now we're now going to talk about the next resolution. Give us a moment. Resolution 2026-01 designating location to post notice. Have you all had an opportunity to review this?
Yes.
Does anyone have any questions or comments, concerns about this? May I have a motion, please, to approve resolution 2026-01 designating location to post office, to post notice.
I'll move to approve, resolution number 2026-01 regarding designation location to post notice.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. All
Aye.
opposed, no. Motion carried. I voted aye, I just didn't say it out loud. Okay. We are now going to turn to item number 9. And we have a presentation from our auxiliary program. Mini briefing on that. We talked about having mini briefings from various people within our department, and this is our first. I'm very excited about it, so welcome.
Thank you.
Give me just a second here to figure out sharing.
So I'm Diana Vanderplug. I have been with the auxiliary for a year. And I do have a PowerPoint that we're gonna pull up here any minute. And basically the auxiliary started in 2024. And it turns out that Jack Kister, who helped start it, was in the fire academy and had some old injuries and couldn't proceed. And so Chief Capel pulled him aside and said, well, I have something for you to do. How about starting the auxiliary? And so he jumped right in and decided that that was the best thing that he could do. So he came over and just started working on the auxiliary. And he and I'm sure his wife had a lot to do with that as well. They both were involved with all of that. So as soon as we get started here. So anyway, it's been in existence for 2 years. And
This is not.
that's
Sorry.
not
I
it.
apologize.
That's right.
I'm trying my best to. Okay, let's try this again. That looks like a presentation.
It does. Yes, it is.
It's not allowing me to share. Sure.
John, can you just show it?
Yep, I'm just gonna show it. Sorry, online.
Sorry, I'm not able to see it.
Will let me. No, let's move it to this other computer. That's fine. Again, I apologize.
I had a presentation one time. It was a national conference and I was just starting and all the power went out. So this is nothing.
One more time. Nope. Okay. Stop sharing. See if we'll let me open.
Oh, is it maybe because you were sharing with Ben?
I think he stopped, but. And then it's not there.
Want the thumb drive?
Yeah. I'm gonna go.
While we're waiting here, President Smith, board members have, we can talk to staff about what other topics that we want to bring in the next 11 months. Is there any that jump out at you that you would like to see? One of the ones, like for instance, Chris is working right now on recruitment of new members. It's a process. We'll go through there. There's one there. Wildfire response is another one with the seasonal. We're getting ready for that season, and if we don't get any snow on the ground, it might be here a lot quicker. And then we thought if there's anything you would like us to make sure that we're working on. It's interesting.
Drivers Academy.
Drivers Academy.
Between the obstacle course and Drivers Academy, there's a lot of extra effort that volunteers put in for each rig to get certified. If we could just kind of give the board an understanding of what the processes that take and what the district was to develop that.
I think also just some of the different things that you and offers like swift water rescue and all the different, there's just so many different skill sets that people have. It'd be really interesting to understand those a little bit better.
Got it.
All right. So Jack and Kathy Kister really one of the instrumental folks in establishing the auxiliary. Justin Kearney is our captain. We are currently at 10 members, 2 are currently onboarding. And in 2024, we did 537 volunteer hours. And this last year in 2025, we did 938, although I think that number's higher because some people don't turn in all their time. I know the PowerPoint gods are looking down and just shaking their heads on all the information on here, but this is who we are. Jack Kister was a former electrical engineer in Silicon Valley. Kathy's wife was a former grade school administrative assistant. Elizabeth Rapola, right here, raise her hand. Former teacher dispatcher and IT director. Nola Greenwald, right here, was a former director of finance in a high-tech company. Terry Babcock is not here. He's former U.S. Postal Service clerk and carrier. Don Wiedmeyer here, former power plant and water projects manager for the Army Corps Bureau of Reclamation. Katie Gladkey is the only working person on the auxiliary, and she's a physician. She travels around a bit. I'm a former paramedic, professor, and college president. Ann Morris is currently onboarding, and she's former Air Force colonel and public information and media person. And Ian Woolley is currently onboarding as well. He's a former strategy and business advocate for Starbucks, and yes, he does get lifetime coffee. So this is us having one of our meetings. We meet once a month and then we do some training in between. So what do? Farmers market from June to September, every Thursday from about 7 to 2, we set up the booth at the farmers market, and we interfaced last year with approximately 720 people. Could have been a few more, but we don't really keep track. And we maintain the booth. We disseminate information on fire mitigation, home assessments, and answer questions. So you can see all the papers that we have that we give people when they come by and talk to us. Bunker gear, we have inventoried all the bunker gear and then issue and check-in gear as needed as people come and go. We're hoping to help a little bit with ordering new gear if need be, and then we issue and help new folks with uniforms, mostly with the auxiliary, and then either collect or redistribute that as well.
Oh my gosh.
So, what's that?
Not my best shot.
Oh, but it could you could actually. AEDs, basically go around, town and work with people. They take care of their own AEDs, but, Nola's going around and working with them. Just make sure that they're up to speed on everything that they need to be up to speed with. Make sure everything works well, and then keeping the database on all of that as well. And right now there are about 48 AEDs around town. There may be a few more, I think you said, but that's what we do there. Hydrant flags were put on last year in all the hydrants because a lot of hydrants are in ditches or gullies and whatnot, and they're kind of hard to see. And then also the snow plows come if we ever get snow and cover those up. So it's just mainly to maintain the presence of the hydrant. And all the flags were purchased by the newcomers group, and we have 840 hydrants around town that now have flags. And I just want to point out that that's Dawn doing that, my little sister. So she's the one with the wrench and doing all the work. I'm the one in the car doing the lights. As it should be if any of you have younger siblings.
What is this button?
Air bottles, we run air bottles to and from Greeley for safety testing every 5 years. And we did that this year. And then we fill the air bottles after testing, after fires and after training, and it's done on this machine here in the station. And Nola was one who made up the directions on the machine so that we don't forget how to do it, because we don't do it all that often. We also check and change batteries on all 50 air bottles. So if you're in a fire at a scene and your air bottle gets low of air, there's an alarm that comes on, and they need to be checked every year and changed just to make sure that they work. Also, we're doing smoke alarms, and this is a program that we're gonna be training for this spring. And it's coordinated with the Red Cross. They provide the smoke alarms, and then we'll go into homes and actually install them and then maintain the database on that as well. I know most of you visited this evening. We do food and supplies purchases. Elizabeth does a lot of this, but other people do it as well. They go to Sam's and purchase supplies for the firehouse and food. Food for events that, we do during Thanksgiving and whatnot, we'll purchase those. And then the snacks, and the drinks are really important. So not only for those of us who have very long meetings, but also, for the firefighters, when they go out on calls and stuff, they really need to have that kind of stuff. And then we'll either bring food to the scenes. We haven't done that yet, but if need be, we would, or after a call. Respirator fit testing, calibrating machine annually, and then scheduling and meeting with each firefighter to make sure that the respirator fits properly, and then documenting all of that, doing that annually. Helping with data entry. So we've done we had one person doing the helping with the volunteer hours and being able to get that in, because that's a huge task. And then we have a database for the bunker gear and other equipment, AEDs, respirator testing, and smoke alarms. And this is just an indication of the database. And, sometimes you think it doesn't really entail too much. But this is just for the bunker gear that's issued, and, just keeping track of that, and keeping track of when it expires as well, and getting new bunker gear for people is important. Help after a call, wash hoses, wash vehicles, roll hoses, fill air bottles, restock the rigs, getting food and anything else that might be needed. Public information, so we have a couple of the people who are onboarding right now who are gonna be working with the media and the PR plan, and basically working with the chief to maintain and come up with information for public and the media on all kinds of venues. So it could be Facebook, TikTok, and other things we might not know about. And then responding to scenes, maybe to take pictures, and then working with the chief and responding to public inquiries. Special events and occasions. So, we work with the Estes Valley Watershed on collecting yard cones and needles. Stacy has over 60 special events and inspections. And we went out the other day and did one with her. And there's a possibility that we can help with those, because it's an awful lot. Thanksgiving, setting up, buying the food, cooking the food, cleaning up, all of the Christmas stuff with decorating trucks, decorating here, helping with food and whatnot. We do crowd control, help out with that on the 4th of July. And then we're hoping to be able to help with academy graduation, recruitment dinner, awards banquet, and appreciation dinner, and just, fill those gaps or be able to take that off of people's plates. Vehicles, we help keep them clean after a call, fill with gas. We can't drive the big fire trucks, but the other stuff we can take care of some of those. And then change out insurance and other paperwork in the vehicles. So we have other ongoing, very low priority things that if we get around to them, we'll do. I know CT wants pictures of the training site, apparatus and compartment photos and labels for the fire trucks. We haven't gotten around to those yet. And he wants help with the recruitment video. And then just, stuff around the firehouse, apparatus windows and mirrors need to be clean on the rigs. Station windows, pressure wash the station if we ever get snow and it gets dirty. Clean the bay lights, and then doing weeding and landscaping. So people like to do that. Emergency preparedness is something we're working on and our role in that, so maybe doing education in the public. And what to do in an emergency and that kind of stuff. And then also, what's our role if we do have a major event? How can we help? So we're trying to come up with some of those ideas and just figure out what those gaps might be. Stacy has some wonderful ideas on school programs, but doesn't have the bandwidth to do a lot of that. So we have a lot of people here who would love to get into the schools and do some education as well. So we're gonna be working on some of those programs and picking Stacy's brains, because she really has some great ideas. Pet rescue and broad emergencies and evacuations. In 2020, we had people who were down in Valley and couldn't get back up when we were evacuated, and they had pets. And also, just in evacuation zones that they can't get in to get their pets. So we're working on a program for that to be able to help people out with that. Traffic control at select scenes, we don't do that now, but we're having those conversations. Don't know if that's gonna be something we will do, but we know that there might be a need for that. And there is some training coming up this month to be able to help with that. Get Well and Care program basically would be working with the lieutenants in all of their squads, if they have somebody who has a medical issue or ongoing kinds of medical things, and just supporting them in how we can help out with them and their families. Helping with public information programs, helping with public event inspections. There are, like I said, over 60 events that happen here every year, and all of them need some sort of an inspection or a walkthrough or whatnot. And Stacy took us along with that the other day, and would like to train us to be able to help with those. And then helping firefighters and pets or kids during long-term events. Sometimes if there's an extended event and you have pets at home, they need to be let out, or you have kids who need to be picked up, or maybe going and picking up the firefighter and bringing them back from the scene, be able to go do some of these things. So just helping out with that. We do know that we have some firefighters who, if it looks like it's a structure fire, might not be able to go because of those things. So we want to help them. Some of our challenges are knowing what else we can do to be helpful. And sometimes it's just kind of hearing when we're around the house. So somebody says, oh, we could use this, and so we kind of jump in. But we're trying to solidify that a little bit more and just figure out what we can do. Knowing when to show up or help out either during or after a call. We're putting some things in place right now, like a call sheet and whatnot, so that when you come back from a call, if you do need food or you need something else, you need us to come in and help clean, just let us know, and then we can get the word out to the rest of the auxiliary. So we're working on that. Being able to use our skills, as you know, from everybody's expertise and whatnot, we have a lot to offer, and we just want to be able to offer it where it's needed. So we're just trying to figure that out sometimes. Being able to share databases among users. So like the bunker gear, it's sometimes difficult when one person puts something in the database and you have 3 other people who are working on that database to make sure that it updates everybody. And then central scheduling for the farmers market. Basically, we're here to help. And, we hear things and we try to jump in and help. We don't really want to take anything away from anybody, but we want to help out where we can. And we do own some projects and other things. We're just here to help and do whatever. And it's been really nice because people have come to us and said, can you do this? Can you do that? We're working on a yearly schedule to be able to know when those things come up and what we can do and whatnot. And it's just been a lot of fun, really. I'm having fun, and I know everybody else is having fun. We appreciate the ability to be able to help, and we appreciate it when they ask for our help. So I don't know if you have any questions, but
I just want to say you guys are amazing.
Yeah,
well,
No,
it's just grown and morphed a little bit, and we do a little bit of this and that, but I think we're helping out where we can, and I know we do have some bandwidth to be able to help in certain areas. So that's really what we're here for. So,
Is there like one person in the group that Justin calls and then you guys figure out how to attack it?
yeah, and that was Jack Kister. He and his wife are in California right now, so right now it's me. And then when a call comes in to me, then I'll just put a text out to everybody. And we have a tree because, okay, at night I don't have my phone on. So if anything happens at night, probably not gonna get me. So we do have a phone tree of people that we can keep calling. Elizabeth's husband is on the fire department. So chances are, I think you're second on the list. Because we know she'll probably be out very late. So, but yes, we do. We do.
I like it. Yeah, you guys are
What an impressive,
amazing. I
very
like it.
impressive presentation, but what an impressive group. I mean, you
Yeah.
all have a wide array of experiences just in your own backgrounds. But just the fact that you've come together and devoted so much time and energy to creating something that is really impressive and super helpful. So thank you.
It's a good team. I mean, we all, I think, enjoy doing what we do and we do complement each other and they.
I mean, Diana has really organized us.
Well, I'm not surprised.
It has helped.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
we
enjoy
enjoy
it, it's later, so, you know, projects we had or who was in charge. It's really, great job.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I would like to, is there a way that we can put that presentation on the website?
The video of, well, the YouTube link will be on the website, but I wonder. We can't get someone to work on how. I'm sure there is someone out there, and it would not be me, that would know how to cut that part of the video out and just put that portion up.
We could just put the slides up. You want the audio too?
You want the audio or, maybe if we just put the slides up,
This is not.
although the presentation goes.
Yeah,
with
the presentation was great. And
If there's some way
we're
to
so
cut
lucky
it.
to have an organization like that that assists the firefighters and the district. So thank you very much for all that they do.
Add to that, the support that we get from the chief and, CT onboarded all of us and from the other officers and whatnot. And we couldn't do this without them. And they've been so supportive that it's made it really easy and fun for us. So I just want to make sure that they get recognized in it too.
Well, it's remarkable to have such a talented team of people that's willing to be trained to do a wide variety of things, and then also to just do things you don't have to be trained for, but just want help to do. And so all of that together is just very impressive. Thank you. I guess maybe we can try to find someone who's technically.
Well, we're working on that. We saw her talking about that.
Yeah, so if we could figure out a way to cut that out of the video, so we could post just that along with it.
We do have a record, because it's recorded, but maybe moving forward as we have some of these mini briefings, it'd be nice to have
A separate
a separate
recording,
section of mini briefings that we could post everything that.
or even separately record it, so we don't have to try to, we can record it there, but we can also separately record it there, then we already have it without having to.
Third Zoom.
Another thing on our list. Another thing on our-
We'll see.
If we get the right person, I'm sure that they can just take it all out in one video.
I'm sure somebody can just figure it out, yes.
Okay.
All right, so let's turn to the reports, support and prevention.
All right. For Prevention Division. Wildland Risk Reduction Educator, Logan, has completed one home assessment and one neighborhood assessment year to date. So here we go again. He had a strong year last year and it is January. But he went around and walked around Wingcliff the other day, so that's putting it out there when it's cold. And just a reminder, he has coordinated with Glamour County Office of Emergency Management to host a town hall meeting this Wednesday, featuring Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally. That's Wednesday, January 21st at 5:30 at the community center. Fire Lives Here will also be screened, and there'll also be guest speakers. You should have seen that flyer that went out. So if you can attend, it should be a good presentation. And also Logan has been working on a presentation for the League of Women Voters. That will be this Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Chief Jones and I will also be speaking for a little bit, and then Logan will wrap it up, talking about wildfire and home ignition zone assessments. That's at the American Legion at 10 a.m. Captain Sutherland is working on a training program for the auxiliaries to help with inspections for special events and public education for the elementary fire safety program, which you just heard. So she did a little training the other day. She will also be focusing on hotel inspections while they're slower this time of year and they have rooms available that she can get in. We try to respect our business owners and try to work around knowing when they're super busy and when they're not. So it's a good time to get those done. Also working on renewing all our local food truck inspections, as well as all the special events that are coming up. Just this month was First Peoples Festival, Ski Jor, and then in February will be Frozen Dead Guy Days. So bringing people to town even in the winter. Still working on inspections as needed, new construction, special events, working on plan reviews. All those things. I'm still working on finalizing agreements with, for the CWDG Thunder Mountain project with Thunder County. It's been a slow process. I would love to see the boots on the ground getting some work done, but we'll get there. I'm also working on grant implementation and management for the 3 grants that we have ongoing. I wrapped up the 2023 co-swap. I believe that's done. They haven't told me I missed anything. The 2022 fur worm project is what's helping pay for educator Leslie's salary. And then the 2023 CWDG Thunder Mountain project, which hasn't really kicked in yet. We attended the first Gateway to the Rockies CWDG grant planning meeting last week in Lambert County. It was a good meeting. They still have not received formal notification that they have been awarded the grant. They expect that anytime within the next couple of weeks or few months. They really don't know when. They said don't get too excited about it, but they have started the process of starting to plan to determine how we're gonna manage that grant, or how Lambert County is gonna manage that grant, and how we're gonna be involved. 2025 co-swap grant request is conditionally approved. We have a site visit January 22nd with Thomas from Lambert Conservation Corps. Everything looks good to them, and we'll get final approval for that grant. And that again will either be in the summer 26 or 27, an 8-week Lambert Youth Conservation Corps workforce development project. Wildfire Ready Action Plan, again, is almost there. They did request to have a site visit. So there's going to be a small group of those that develop the Wildfire Ready Action Plan come up and look at us as part. Don't have a date yet on that, but they're looking to do that soon. And still working on the 2025 Hazard Mitigation Plan update. That'll be going on for a while. For station projects, as you saw, we did get the carpet in the front 3 offices over the holidays. That's all I've got. Thank you. No question?
I do actually. And I've kind of always wondered this, maybe it's common knowledge and I just don't know, but these food trucks, they have to be inspected, correct?
Correct.
So how do you deal with like on the hook, where they just come into town for a day and leave? How does that, I mean, can you just surprise inspect them? Do they have a sticker on the truck that says I've been inspected? How does that work?
Yes, and actually that legislation just changed this year. We had a regional consortium, so us and some of the other Front Range partners, Loveland, think others that are close, had an agreement that if Loveland inspected them, we weren't gonna re-inspect them. And yes, they would get a sticker saying you've done your deed. They're starting to do that statewide now. They're looking at it, doing it in a larger area, and that's just implemented this year. They also now require you to be a certified inspector to inspect food trucks. One thought we had was maybe auxiliaries could help with that, but now you have to have your at least Inspector 1 certification. So they are working towards being fair to these food truck vendors, so they don't have to re-inspect. if they
Well,
travel around.
Not only them, but you guys have a big workload and then, well, who's this? Now I gotta put this, what I'm supposed to be doing today aside to go check and make sure they should be here.
And that's the relationship Stacy's developed with the events organizers for the town. She knows beforehand who's coming. So she can also put on her radar and say, oh, I've seen these, so I know they're good. That one I haven't seen. So we usually have a little bit heads up, and they've been really great about working with us on it. It's interesting. We're managing.
I like it.
Any other questions for Division Chief Lieutenant? Okay, let's move next to Operations and Training Division.
Okay. As far as the training division, this is our last week of EMS training. Estes Park Health Ambulance has come over. It's been a great time actually for members to get to know them. People we see on scene, but there's other things going on. We get to meet them and find out what their names are and how long they've been on the ambulance and that kind of stuff. Lieutenant Brad Harris was the lead. He's a PRN with Estes, whatever they are today, Estes Valley, UC. Yep, a hospital. So he works on the ambulance with them, so he's coordinated the training for this month, which has been phenomenal. He puts a lot of effort into it, making sure that our EMRs, EMTs and paramedics also get some skills refreshed during that time. Not only basic skills that they need our members to know, but those skills as well. So it's been a great month, but we are finishing out the month with the TIMS class. So it's the traffic incident management. Since I've started here in 2018, we haven't had like a flagger class, right? It sounds kind of strange to have a class on how to turn the sign around. But it's something, one of the most dangerous things that we do. So one of our insurance company representatives is coming up, as well as some CDOT folks. They're gonna be teaching that next Tuesday. My hope and my expectation is it's gonna help us build some consistency with how we set up our traffic control for incidents, so that we can have more safety for our members, our scenes, and the drivers on the road. So I'm really looking forward to that. We opened up the application process for new volunteers again. I already have 4. So, some of those I said, really excited to have you. Can I call you in January? So we're starting up that process. We're gonna be starting with interviews and the CPAT, the Cadet Physical Ability Test. Think of like an obstacle course of firefighter things. So we're starting that off, also very exciting. I'm getting partners together to teach the upcoming Wildland Refresher. Partners, Larimer County Emergency Services, and then Allens Park Fire Protection District. We're required to have a particular class each year to maintain our red card certifications. That's our Wildland cert. So we can work mutual aid with the park, the forest, and then our mutual aid partners. And there's requirements for who can teach that. So that's why I'm reaching out to them, but that's coming up. Ice rescue training is coming up the middle of next month. Unless we don't have ice. So that's been an interesting thing. I keep looking at the lake going, I wonder. So we're gonna need to postpone it if there is no ice. So I can't really do anything about that. So we'll see how we get when we get there. And then the end of next month, we also have instructor 1 that starts. So that's a DFPC. So it's a state certified class that we teach here in house. Essentially to raise our department another level, right? To teach folks who are excited, who are learning, but also teach them how to teach. And that's kind of how we bring up the next generation of firefighters. So that's coming up the end of next month, and that's training. As far as operations, the fit testing machine has returned from calibration. Dawn is the gal who's gonna be running it with, she already went home. With auxiliary. Man, we are having a heck of a time downloading the software. I know that we don't necessarily need the software, but I'd like to see if we can record more information with each testing cycle. But we are working on that. I gotta make a phone call tomorrow. And otherwise, we did a trial run. So my mask fits. We just needed a dummy, so I'm good at that. And we worked the machine. Thank you, Jeff. Nobody else laughed. He's looking at me.
Tough room.
So we did a trial run with the machine to make sure that Dawn knows how to run it, right? You read the instruction manual, you watch the videos, but when you finally get hands on the machine, that's obviously when you find out if you learned something. So we're just figuring out the best way to record the data from those testings. That's where we're at on that. The drone is up and running again. I'm really excited about that. I know it's a funny thing. We technically only have 1 licensed pilot. Did you know you have to get a license to fly a drone? You have to like go to the airport and do testing sessions. Yeah, it's a thing. So Lieutenant Brookwalski is our current licensed drone pilot. We have 3 more who've done the training. We've invested in them already. And I said, well, if the drone doesn't work, why do they have any motivation to continue with the process? If it's a question about if we're gonna use this thing or not. So I got some batteries ordered up and they have arrived. So we have 40 to 60 minutes of flight time right now. 1 pilot, but the other 3 have been told like, hey, we're doing this, so let's make it happen. So we're moving forward on that, but we'll have multiple operators when the need arises. So fleet is taking care of some general maintenance issues. Some of our rigs are not being utilized right now, so we can swap people around. Just think suspension things and parts that can be held off, but now's a good time of year to take care of those. The other thing with vehicles is we're gonna start fueling at the school soon, which is gonna save us sales tax at the pump, so that's a big deal. We've been coordinating, Chief Landcamer started that process, so we're coordinating with the school to be able to start fueling there. It's taken a little bit just on their end and on our end just to get everything set up. So auxiliary helped put stickers, so you know which number to put in when you put it in the pump. And we're gonna start doing that pretty quick, which is also exciting for us. So that's what I have. Do you guys have any questions? Yes, sir.
We're offsetting sales tax. Is there any other fees that the school is passing on to us, or is there any cost to it by using the school?
3% for administration of the program.
There you go. So currently we use fleet cards. So we just go to the Diamond Shamrock. I'll just make one up that we don't even have here.
The diamond ship.
So you just go to the gas station and fill. So we're paying the taxes and we're paying the fees from the town on top of that for the management there. So.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks.
Any other questions?
I have one more comment, if you'd allow me.
Please.
Just thinking about the auxiliaries, it's something that I think, this is my opinion. I believe we have such a great program and a great agency because we are able to utilize our community. Diana, paramedic, all these amazing things. She says, I don't want to throw ladders and go in a burning building, but I want to help. Okay, so we can utilize her. I have people who are like, I can throw ladders, drive, do some things. So that's Randy Rapola. That's Elizabeth's husband, right? So he's an exterior firefighter. That is kind of very specific to us here. And then we have interior firefighters that do the rest. So I'm proud to be part of this organization and be able to utilize our community because we have a community of people who want to help. And it's different capacities and desires. But we found some really great ways to be able to utilize those folks from our community. So.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so we don't have a volunteer captain here tonight, so we don't have a volunteer captain report unless you have one of.
I don't think
Okay.
that.
Nothing was passed on. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Does anyone have any questions to pass along to the volunteer captains? I think we're
We've been
good.
running calls.
Yeah. Okay, well, if anything is, we can just have a catch-up report at the next. All right, chief.
Okay, I thought since we're sitting here a few months since I've been with you, I went back and I looked at my interim chief plan. So in front of you, I left one of these in front of your face there. I just thought I'd run through these real quick. Permanent fire chief, that will kick off in February when Hippie and Scott recommend a contractor. And I think on the other end of that, we're hoping to have somebody on board in October next year, or not next year, this year.
This year?
Yeah, this year.
With some kind of a transition period, probably in November. A lot of work going on, as you've seen tonight, on the administrative business operations, the operations division. We're moving ahead on several of those projects, spent a lot of time on those, as well as a new district organizational structure. wildfire risk reduction program, a lot starting to happen with that. Before we all leave tonight, Ryan, Jeff, and John, let's get our heads together and get that first meeting scheduled the next week or so. Master training plan is complete. Officer training, Chris was just telling me about that tonight. The officers are kind of looking at their needs and what we can do there, although we don't have anything going right now, other than the normal stuff that's going on. Education on combination volunteer organizations, I'm starting to do some background research on that. I think it's important that as we start, especially at the beginning of the fire chief process, you have a good amount of knowledge of volunteer and combination organizations work, because it's a really big part of your recruitment process. And we have just one piece of, we have one model. Here's our other models out there. Culture, not really doing too much on that right now, other than day-to-day stuff. Board support, and that's part of the administrative project. One of the things I think you really didn't talk about tonight was that you'll get to a point when you might want to appoint one of our administrative people as your recording secretary when the time comes.
Oh, yeah, that's a.
I can see that. We talked about incomplete projects, and Chris talked about the drone program, getting that back on track. Fire prevention, again, we talked about fire prevention tonight. Community outreach is one thing that I've taken on. John mentioned that there's going to be a presentation to the League of Women Voters this week, as well as the wildfire town hall, even though we're attending, but we're not part of the presentation. And boy, I've seen that. I think, John, you've seen that as well. There's a big portion of that that's the insurance commission. And he's going to talk about insurance, which is really important. So if you get an opportunity, please come to that. That's where it's going to all its own.
One that's this Wednesday.
This Wednesday evening at 5:30 in the community center. The PIO social media function, Diana covered that, working with some folks on the Missouri to get that going. Annual report, we'll be working on that. You notice that, two new projects have kind of arisen. One is, I mentioned already, the 2026 budget, doing that assessment, see where we are. We're gonna separate the wildfire risk reduction. I think the direction is becoming pretty clear that we want to do a separate fund. I think that's pretty clear. We certainly want to go back and adjust the chart of accounts as Ben was saying, based on new function, organizational structure. One of the things I want to do is we need to figure out what we're doing with all the contracts. We got several. We have a bunch of contracts. I'm not exactly sure where they all are and what they're all for and how much they all cost. So we need to figure all that out. And again, probably targeting June, possibly for amended budget. The last thing is interim chief period of extension. You're gonna talk about that, I think, in your executive session that's coming up. Again, the next category, initiated interim chief during the interim chief period. Again, nothing to really add there. I do have some preliminary work starting with the town on the sales tax issue. And I think you're gonna have a joint session with the town sometime.
February 13th.
That's for the.
That's for something else.
That's for the wildfire
Yeah.
resiliency code.
Correct.
The next one will be for the sales tax sometime mid-year. Also, the last thing that I have down there is, we have had some preliminary discussion about the office consolidation. I know Hippie brought up some comments about that. That's probably a project we're not gonna be able to bite off as far as fully moving everything over here. In the short run, we're just, we look at John and I and Chris been talking about, it's like, holy cow, probably can't make that happen in the short run. However, I told the reorganization committee, I told staff that I might think about moving myself and one of the administrative positions over to the other offices, just to free up more capability here for our operations and training folks, and leave one of the administrative positions over here with them. I shared this with us. I've been in the fire service for my entire adult life. I love firefighters. I love being around them. I like to see them going on calls. And I like to see them coming back. And I love hear their stories. But right now, within the next 8, 9, 10 months, I need to be focused on some stuff, some heavy duty work that maybe me being over there might be more conducive to get that work. Done. I haven't decided on that yet. John and I have got to talk about it some, but that's one idea. That I'm working on right now, for at least for the rest of the time.
Sure.
That's all I've got. This is kind of where I think we are in the first 3 months of being here. I also left you a copy of the Special District Association magazine that we get I think it comes out quarterly. There's a good article in there about some of the fire districts that had successful tax initiatives this last time in November. We'll take a look at those and talk. What isn't in there, the ones that weren't successful. That's another, you can learn sometimes just as much from those that aren't successful. So anyway, I'll make sure that you get information from SDA. They're a great resource. It's not too early to start thinking about the SDA conference in September. It's only January, but I think John, have you historically, a couple of board members historically gone to that?
The which means,
SDA. Special
yes, I think we budgeted usually for 2.
Yeah, they only can go 2 anyway, because you go more than that, then it's a meeting. But it's not too early to start thinking about who wants to attend that conference since September. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Any questions for Chief? Nope. All right, so we don't have any unfinished or old business. I will ask any board members who have any new business to state. Anyone? All right, we're gonna go into executive session pursuant to CRS section 24-6-4024B for purposes of receiving legal advice from the district's legal counsel on specific legal questions related to FPPA communications and considerations. And executive session pursuant to CRS section 24-6-4024B for purposes of receiving legal advice from the district's legal counsel on specific legal questions regarding interim Chief Jones service agreement and extension of services, and pursuant to CRS section 24-6-402 (4) for discussion of a potential personnel matter related to interim Chief Jones' status of engagement with the district and contract considerations. Interim Chief Jones has been notified of this executive session and has consented to it. Could I have a motion, please, to enter an executive session pursuant to the code sections just described?
I will make that motion.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Scott?
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried. We'll adjourn now into executive session and then return. On the record here, that's more of a court thing, but okay. We're back in our meeting. Hang on a second. Gotta figure out where I am now. I've got to just find the agenda. Thank you there. All right, so coming out of executive session, I need to have a motion to create a 2-person subcommittee consisting of 2 people. I nominate Hippie and myself. Just nominate myself, but we were the interim chief search committee, so it makes sense. Given that the issue that's involved, motion to create a 2-person subcommittee to work with the district's attorney to create an employment contract for Chief Jones. Could I have that motion, please?
I'll make the motion as stated.
All right, may I have a second,
I'll
please?
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no. The motion carried. Last item, announcements. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is Monday, February 23rd. September? What the heck was that? Monday, February 23rd at 4:30 PM, although we have scheduled a special session of the board by Zoom for February 2nd, and you're going to handle the stuff on that at 3 PM. Is that mine?
No, this is mine.
Cheers. Is this one mine? Swear to God.
No.
Swear that's my one. Okay, never mind. All right, let's see if this is, okay, and we're also gonna have a study session on February 23rd. On the Colorado Open Meetings Law that begins at 3 PM with our board meeting immediately to follow. That's on the February 23rd regularly scheduled meeting. No, 3 PM. Meetings, but yeah, but yeah, because I think we have a couple other things that, anyway, okay, so 3 PM. And then the meeting begins at 4:30. And because we like long meetings, can somebody move to adjourn?
I don't move to adjourn.
May I have a second,
I'll
please?
take the second.
Hold on. With that,
We have to say about the next meeting on,
yeah, we just.
I just did, did you not hear me? Oh, yeah, the next regularly scheduled meeting is February 23rd. I talked about the Open Meeting Act, study session. Before that, I also mentioned the February 2nd special meeting at 3 PM that we scheduled while we were here tonight. So we have a special meeting coming on February 2nd at 3. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is February 23rd. It has a study session in advance that begins at 3 PM, and then the regular meeting will start at 4:30. And I believe that is all I said. Oh, the subject of the study session will be the open meetings law.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, who made the motion?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carried. We're adjourned.
well,